This screencast talks about the Supreme Court. Today we're doing this for lesson 8.3 or 7.3. So please listen as I read along. This will help you understand what the highest court in our nation does. The Supreme Court heads the judicial branch of the United States government. It is the only court established by the Constitution. Decisions made by the Supreme Court are usually of national importance. Equal justice under law is the motto of the court. The wording of the Constitution is complex, so it must be studied and examined carefully. When questions concerning particular laws arise in lower courts, the justices who make up the Supreme Court are responsible for explaining and interpreting the Constitution. All other courts in the United States must follow the ruling or the decision made by justices of the Supreme Court. The Constitution also gives the Supreme Court the power to judge whether federal, state, and local governments are acting within the law. The Supreme Court can also decide if a president's action is unconstitutional. The decisions of the Supreme Court are absolute and final. In contrast, the decisions and judgments reached in lower courts may be appealed or questioned. Thousands of requests for rulings reach the Supreme Court each year. Fewer than 150 are actually considered and ruled upon. Now you're going to hit the Learn More button. The Supreme Court Justices. Our Uncle Sam here says, I belong to a select group of 9 justices. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. It has a Chief Justice, or head judge, and 8 associate justices. The justices are appointed by the President and approved by a vote of the Senate. The justices serve for life, unless they choose to retire. Their job is to interpret laws passed by Congress. Since our government was established, more than 100 justices have served on the court, and until recently, all were men. Sandra Day O'Connor was the first woman named to the Supreme Court. She was apportioned in 1981. Appointed means chosen for the court. Known as a swing vote. Through much of her Supreme Court service, Sandra Day O'Connor retired January 31st, 2006. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was seated in 1993 as the second woman. You're going to hit Learn More one more time. Dealing with segregation. Thousands of lawyers from all over the country go to the Supreme Court every year hoping to plead their cases. The Supreme Court rules only the most important ones. Often these cases are those that concern basic freedoms and civil rights protected by the Bill of Rights. Sometimes the Supreme Court is asked to make a decision so important that the whole country pays careful attention to its ruling. Racial segregation, the separation of black and white people in public schools, was ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in 1954. The court's unanimous opinion outlawing this kind of separation in public schools was written by Chief Justice Earl Warren. Schools all over the United States were affected by this decision. This decision also paved the way for new civil rights laws passed in the years that followed. So now that we have read through all 3 pages, you are done. Go back to today's lesson, and you'll see what you need to do next. You're going to go ahead and watch a Brain Pop video on the Supreme Court. Don't forget to log in, and then you get to play a game called Argument Wars. When you finish the game, send me a screenshot. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'll be happy to talk you through it. Good luck, have fun!